This is entitled I'm a Boss with Money. Okay, so basically, what we're talking about today is just learning how to budget and master your money. Okay, and I'm super excited because I've always been very passionate about financial literacy. I've been very passionate about just really seeing and making sure that not only myself was like actually, I hope you guys can see this. Let me just double check. Yep, it's still sharing screen. So just being super mindful about how I spend my money. And I've always been very like I've been one who is an advocate for financial literacy and just making sure that you're managing your money and doing so well. So what we're going to talk about today is why budgeting is important for you, what budgeting is, and just tips for every single woman should know about budgeting. Okay, and so why does any of this even matter? Let's start with the fact that there is a huge wealth gap in America. I think that's no surprise to any of us, that in America, there's like this huge wealth gap in terms of not just the level of income disparities and just how, in terms of wealth and race, and basically how African Americans in America make not only significantly less, but there's this gap of actual like net worth and what Blacks are actually worth in comparison to their white counterparts and other races as well. So Blacks are typically falling on the lower end of that. So this matters to you because, you know, regardless of where you're at with your personal journey and financial freedom, that in order to build wealth, it starts with budgeting. Okay. The second piece of this is getting rid of debt, right? So debt is a huge contributing factor to why people are unable to truly build wealth, because debt keeps you behind. And so even if you have just goals of paying off, whether it's your student debt, your credit cards, whatever that is, that's why budgeting is extremely important. It's going to help you make sure that you are positioning yourself to pay off debt and to do so effectively. And then the last piece of this is asset ownership. So even home ownership. And if you have aspirations to purchase property, to, you know, begin investing in businesses and any type of stuff like that, in order to really effectively, get to that place of wealth and to begin really owning and purchasing additional assets, it's one of those things where you definitely have to make sure that you're budgeting and managing your money well. Okay. So now we're going to talk about specifically, because Epic Fab Girl, the vast majority of our audience is single African American women, so single Black women. I fall into that category as well, but we're going to talk about just the median net worth. So when we're talking about net worth, we are talking about basically it's a measure of wealth. Okay, so net worth is by definition the measure of someone's total assets. So you're looking at your cash in the bank. So if you think about your personal life, like all of your bank accounts, any assets, stocks, bonds, real estate that you have, all of that gets added to your net worth, but you subtract the amount of debt that you have. So even if you have, you know, let's say you have $5,000 saved up in the bank, or you have, you know, however much you have saved in the bank with amongst all your assets, if you have student loan debt that's $100,000, that's taking you way farther under. And so basically, not only your home mortgage, but your car note, your credit cards, your student loans, all that is going to negatively affect your net worth. So when we're looking at the single white woman who is of working age, she earns her median net worth is a total of roughly $43,000. Okay. And so now I know we're talking about Black single women, and what is most alarming to me is that this is like, it's not just like a huge, like a mini gap. Like you would even think it's, you know, it's not even half, right? So literally Black women, single Black women of working age, their net worth is $5. And this is according to a study that was done a few years back by the Nation of Islam research. Basically, what they did was they looked to see, or no, not the Nation of Islam. This one is it's a leading research group called Closing the Gap. And basically what they did was they looked at the median net worth of single white women in comparison to single black women, as well as other groups. But the thing that was most alarming to them was how few women of color had in terms of their total net worth. So that means of all the black women that were of working age, that if you accumulate all of their assets and pay attention to debt, this was the findings basically. So yes, there are a lot of contributing factors, that category of women, we are like the most educated, but with that comes student loans, with that comes credit card debts, because there's so many contributing factors. But the way that you can be someone who actively addresses that is by being a better budgeter of your money, being more cognizant of how you're spending your money. So this next piece is, if you're wondering, like, what are people really spending their money on? Okay, so in terms of Black people, what they're spending their money on, and this is the research done by the Nation of Islam Research Organization. Basically, they found out that Blacks have spending power, and this is just Black people in general, amounting to $1.1 trillion, which, if you split that evenly amongst men, women, and children, that gives women a spending power of $26,000 a year, okay? Now, I'm a marketer, so I know that women are the ones that make buying decisions for their homes. Women are the ones that, purchase things for other people. We're the biggest consumers. So 9 times out of 10, that number is even going to be more skewed for Black women to be spending more. And if you're looking at the billions of dollars that are spent in each of these categories, from, tobacco, wine, whiskey, non-alcoholic things, leisure time spending, just things that literally we're spending billions of dollars on things that do not really have a ton of substance. And it's also sad to see healthcare is one of those things. So, that's a policy issue. That's an economic issue. That's several, that just shows a lot about not only our government, but a lot about just how it even contributes to that wealth gap that I was talking about, is that in terms of the fact that we're paying, billions of dollars on this type of, on these types of things. Another study I actually read was about how, for Black people in general, the average home is spending over a third of their income on housing. And so what that means, and that's in comparison to their peers, they're spending way more. And what that essentially means is that we're living outside of our means. We're, trying to keep up with the Joneses. So this is a key issue, is just that lack of money management and poor spending habits, really. And so this is more so about living from paycheck to paycheck, right? So for me, I definitely have been there, done that, been living paycheck to paycheck. And what that means essentially is, if you are in a place where you cannot, if someone says, hey, an emergency came up, or your car broke down and you needed $500, $700, would you be okay, or would you have to panic? If you are in a place where, somebody's like, hey, can you go XYZ place with me? And you're looking at your bank account like, yeah, I think I can go with you. Or even like people reaching out to you, like, to get support for something. And you're like, okay, yeah, I got you on my next check. And the fact that you even have to delay what you're going to do for your next check, or the fact that if you get to that next check and you're like, oh, yo, by the way, like, sorry, but I can't do that. That has definitely been me on multiple occasions, but in the past, but essentially that means that you're living paycheck to paycheck. If you don't have enough room in your budget, or like if you don't know how much money is in your account, or let's say you even have like recurring payments and you look up and you're like, wow, why is my account in the negatives? If you don't, number one, if your account got there and you also don't know how it ended up there, that means that you're not only living paycheck to paycheck, but that also means that you're just not effectively managing your money, and there's ways to completely avoid that. So the thing with this is that many of us feel like we're thriving in certain areas. Yes, there's this Black girl magic. There's all this stuff going on where Black women are thriving. However, we're suffering because we're not really truly living our best lives. We're not, really preparing for the generation that comes after us. We're living in that paycheck to paycheck mentality for the vast majority of us. And there's a ton of factors that go into that. But I just truly believe that we're not living our best lives because we're not effectively managing our money. So I'm going to talk to you guys just a little bit about myself, my personal journey, and my experience with budgeting and all of that. So my name's Candace Armour. You guys can find me online at Candace Janae on Instagram and social media, pretty much everywhere. It's Candace Janae. And I am from Chicago. I have a background in engineering, and I also have my MBA with a focus on marketing and accounting. So yes, I have those degrees, but I put that up there because I also have the debt to prove it. Coming out of college, I had over $100,000 in student loan debt. And so that was just like a lot to me to begin with. While I was blessed to get a full ride scholarship for undergrad, there were times where I took out additional loans because my parents didn't have it. So I was like, let me just take out additional loans to cover my housing expenses, to cover my books. And then for grad school, I still took out funding to make sure that I would be covered. And I remember having a conversation when I got accepted into my MBA program. I was like, hey, I don't think I want to do this because y'all not giving me money. And they were like, well, if you think about how much MBAs make when they graduate, you'll be fine. So they sold me on that, but I still ended up with debt. And sometimes I kind of was like, should I have done this? But, it is what it is. But I ended up and walked away from college with a ton of debt. And so I moved back to Chicago after graduation and still was kind of living that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, even though I was making nearly six figures. Or at the time when I first got out of college, I was like not quite making that yet, but I still was living paycheck to paycheck and was really upset. And I remember one time something happened. I don't know what happened, but I think a mistake on my account happened where I got double charged like a really high bill, and it took like 2 or 3 weeks for the money to get reversed into my account. So my account was in the negatives. It was just a lot of stuff, and it just made me realize the fact that I don't have enough money to cover in emergencies like that really got me to be like, okay, you need to do better. You need to really manage your finances and to do so well. And so I made a decision that I wanted to be debt free. So I started really focusing on being debt free, really focusing on not only paying off debt, but also making sure that I was managing my money. And I had already been one who managed my money, but I wasn't looking at it with a fine tooth comb. So I was kind of as long as I'm good, I think I have about $200 I can spend, and I would just swipe, or, I wasn't really very in the weeds on what my budget was. But I made a shift and basically started using a very detailed budget. And that's when my life began to change. I was on the same budget, no longer living paycheck to paycheck. I actually, as soon as I started becoming more diligent with my finances, I actually got a $20,000 raise on the job. And even when I did that, because I was disciplined with my spending, I was able to pay off so much more debt. So I was able to take every, extra little money that I had and pay off that directly to debt instead of waiting around. So I paid off over $10,000 in debt. Managing my money has helped me launch even Epic Fab Girl. I started Epic Fab Girl not from the funds of other people. Those were from the funds of my pocket. And how I did that was I managed my money, and I did so diligently each and every single month. So me paying off debt actually led me to, like, it's like I knew that paying off debt was going to do some great things, but y'all, my credit score jumped over 150 points. Now, granted, my credit score was trash before, but it still jumped up over 150 points. And it was like crazy in a matter of a year, that because I had been diligent, I was able to pay off that credit card debt, improve my credit, and then because of that, I was positioned well to be able to purchase my first home. So this picture on the bottom right is me purchasing my first home as a single Black woman at the age of 25. So that was a huge thing for me. And so budgeting really has helped me a ton. And I also included some pictures of my travel because that's some of the things that I love to do. And I know a lot of times people think that when you are traveling, when you are budgeting, that you can't do the things that you love to do, or you don't have room, or that you're going to be restricted. That's not the case. Budgeting is just helping you figure out how to make your money work for you. Okay. So for me, this trip to Barbados is the top right picture. That was an amazing experience. I made sure that I put in my budget things that I love to do. But I also was very frugal with how I was spending my money. So this trip cost me $500 in total. I found, not only housing while I was there, all expenses paid, or like what do you call it? All you can eat, whatever, the little all exclusive package for travel. And then my flight and everything, I paid $500 in total. That is what it looks like to travel on a budget, have an amazing time. And on the bottom left, this is me when I was in Thailand earlier this year. And I remember, like, I didn't know, because I was getting ready to quit my job. I didn't know if it would make sense for me to go. So I had to really look at my budget and figure out, okay, what can I cut back? How can I, actually make sure that I go on this trip? And budgeting helped me be able to pay for this trip to Thailand. So I am a visionary, a dreamer, a lover of Jesus. And I really believe that, we should steward the things that God has given us well. And that is when God begins to prepare you for increase. Because if you do get that $1 million or that raise, it's like, are you going to spend that money well, or are you going to let that all flow out of your account and you'd be sitting there looking broke? So you just have to be very honest with yourself. So I'm going to talk about what is budgeting. All right. So budgeting is, and Dave Ramsey, if you guys don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he is a financial literacy advocate and like guru. And basically he has this book. It's a really great book. It's called Total Money Makeover. Reading that pretty much changed my life. As well as what else? As well as Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was another really great book that I read that was about financial literacy and just wealth and wealth building. But Dave Ramsey talks about budgeting. Basically, budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So figuring out, hey, here's the money that I have. Here's where I'm going to tell it to go. You don't have to feel restricted. But how many times have you been at a place where you're like, man, I'm trying to figure out why, like, where all my money went. Like, I didn't know. Like, you check your bank account and you're like, whoa, now why is the balance this low? So that's the type of thing that you want to avoid, and budgeting will help you do that. Okay. So now I'm going to actually jump into some of the budgeting tips that I have for you guys and some of the things that I use. So the first thing is setting financial goals. I know a lot of times we talk about being, super ambitious women, going after all that God has for us, all this stuff. You write New Year's resolutions, you do all this stuff, but it's so important to actually set financial goals, not just goals for your life, but goals for your finances. If you do not do that, you will have nothing to help guide you. So, sorry, I had to drink some water, but you have to make sure that you're setting those financial goals because that's going to help you stay on track. And that's really going to help you figure out. So for me, that was me saying, hey, I want to purchase a home before I'm 30. And it actually happened within a year of me putting that goal down. I didn't think that it would happen so soon, but it happened. And it part of that was because of, me budgeting. So my financial goals was, how much money did I want to have saved up? My financial goals was, what did I want to save money for to be able to spend more money on things that actually mattered to me. This next one is to plan before you get it. So that when you get paid. So my thing is that really, 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 really changed everything for me was planning my money out before it ever got into my hands. Because how many of y'all have ever been guilty of being like, oh, I just got paid today, I can get these shoes. Oh, I just got paid today, I can get, I can, get something fancy when we out to eat, add a drink to that and dessert. So it's like, if you plan your money before you get it, you won't just be like, oh, I just got paid, and then, spending money on, stuff that doesn't even make sense. So plan your money before you ever even get it, okay? The next thing is understanding the difference between a need and a want. And I know this might seem super simple. You're like, I know what I need, I know what I want. But I didn't realize the intensity of this until actually in undergrad. I still managed my money. I just didn't do it like super, like I wasn't really, really on it. I only managed it. I would be like, I would pull up like a little spreadsheet and say, I just got this check, here are all the things I need to pay for. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm good. Here's how much money I have to spend. But I didn't have something that was like guiding me throughout the year on how much money I was going to be using or needed to have and all of that stuff. So one of the things that God told me, because y'all know, like I love fashion and I love shoes. Like I love shoes. Like shoes was the thing that I would go by if I was happy, if I had a bad day and I was sad, or, something traumatic happened, I would literally go shopping and be like, oh, found some shoes. These are super cute. Now that's crazy, but that used to be my lifestyle. And I also used to be the girl that, if you get invited to something and you're like, ooh, I need to go get me a new outfit for this thing. And God started to deal with me about my spending habits. He was like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting all the money that I get. Like, and literally, I studied engineering in undergrad. So I was on internships making $10,000, $20,000 in a summer and blowing all of that money, y'all. Like, literally, I can't even tell you where half of that money went. And as I got ready to graduate from college, God basically, like that last semester, he was like, don't buy anything unless you absolutely need it. And he made me go on a fast from like shopping. And so he said, unless it was something that went towards me, me needing it for my new job, that wasn't going to pay for it. So even down to like only buy like, because all I had in college was like crop tops and jeans and stuff. I did have to buy like wardrobe and stuff for work that was work appropriate, but I was able to identify, okay, I need this, but I don't really need that. One of the big things for me was I really, really liked candy. So like anybody who knows me, just how you steal my heart is with fruity candy. I love, this is probably lame, but somebody else was like, you eat Swedish fish? Yes, I love Swedish fish. So I would like eat like fruity candy, like Swedish fish, Lifesavers, fruit snacks, baby. Fruit snacks would get me. Okay. So I would like on my way to school, I would stop at this one gas station, buy, Swedish fish. Let's say I'm spending $3 a day on candy, right? So I'm spending $3 a day on candy. If I'm doing that 5 times a week, that is $15 a week. Let's say $15 times 4 weeks in a month. That right there is $60. Okay. Not only is that $60 a month spending on candy, that's $720 a year. So I started to see that I was spending money on dumb stuff. And I'm over here mad when somebody's like, hey, this thing is $250. Can you go? And I'm like, oh no, I don't have the money, or I don't have, the $20, especially in college when it would be like some registration for something was like $20. And I would be like, nope, can't go. But it's like, had I saved, and not bought candy for an entire week, I would have been almost at my $20 goal. So that really, really helped me to see the difference between needs and wants, was not purchasing anything. And that's when I started to see that, like, hey, I'm spending money on dumb stuff like water bottles. And, you know, like if you're out and about and you're like, oh, let me get some water. And water is like $1 or $1.50 for some ice cold water in a bottle. And you could have bought a pack of, you know, water bottles from Walmart for $3 and you got 24 bottles right there. That's you planning ahead and understanding what you need versus what you want. Because you want that water while you're standing in that line. There's also probably a water fountain nearby. So I just really began to be very, very cognizant about the difference between my needs and my wants. And that helped me figure out how to track my spending. So tracking your spending is extremely important. That really just means like knowing every single last one of your dollars, like where that went. And so I know a lot of times when you hear tracking your spending, you're like, oh yeah, like I know how much money I spend, and I think we just need to really be honest with ourselves. Like I used to be like, yeah, I budget, but I wasn't really budgeting. Like I wasn't really budgeting the way I should have been budgeting. I didn't know every last dollar of mine, where it went. Like once I started knowing where every single last dollar of mine and where it went, that was when I was able to be like, wow, I have so much extra money and I can travel. I can, you know, shop when I want it. And, you know, being on a budget doesn't mean, you know, after my fast of like not shopping and buying stuff, you know, I was able to kind of buy more things, but I was a lot more, I would figure out ways around having to spend money before I actually spent it. So one of the big things for me was like, I used to go shopping and buy a new outfit every time I went somewhere. And instead of doing that in the season when I stopped shopping, I went back to my closet and would shop my closet and wear dresses that I had bought years ago and nobody had seen. Or bought dress, like I would wear a dress and people, like, and I was kind of crazy in the sense that I didn't want to be wearing something if I had already posted it on Instagram. I know I'm crazy. Back then in college, I was like a little nuts. But I didn't want to post a picture like, oh my God, people have seen this already. Here I go, keep wearing the same old outfit. And honestly, the thing that broke for me was when I started wearing stuff and people would compliment me while I was out wearing something that I had just worn. I said, you know what? It don't even matter. I'm going to save my money. And so it really, really, really helped me figure out, you know, do I want to spend this money on something simple or on this extra outfit just to look cute? Or do I want to go to my closet first and figure out what the heck I'm going to wear? I opt to figure out what I'm going to wear. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go buy something. But that at least I'm not buying a whole entire outfit. I might need to buy shoes or, accessories, but that's helping me be a lot better with my money. Let me see where we're at on time. Okay, I'm taking a long time. All right. The next one is prioritize. Okay, so that right there is pretty much just what I was just talking about. Prioritizing your spending. Is it, more important for you to buy this new outfit, or is it more important for you to put that $50 towards paying off debt? Because the only real way for you to pay off debt quickly is to take extra money that you have at the end of every month and put it towards your debt, like point blank period. It's not going to happen, miraculously. Like you have to work towards it. Okay. The next one is using online tools. So we live in the information age. There's so much stuff out here that can help you get on track with your spending and with your budgeting. So using online tools was really helpful for me. So like I said, using online tools was extremely helpful for me. One of my favorite tools was Mint. I started using that in college just to manage my spending and look at, where my money was going. But for me, Mint wasn't enough. Like Mint was cool because it would tell me like how I was spending my money or whatever, but I wasn't able to, I had to be a little bit more on top of it. So that's why I created my own spreadsheet. And that really helped me because it was customized to something that I would use. And it was customized to, my personal spending habits, and it helped me to better see my money. So literally kind of what I do now is every time I pretty much look at my budget, I would say once a week, as I'm making spending purchases, or, as I'm making purchases, I'm going back and subtracting from each category. Like, hey, I spent $5 at, the gas station. I spent $10 here. So I'm basically tracking against how much I spent and how much I said I was going to spend that month. And then that way I wouldn't go over. So there's so many different tools that you can use online, and you need to make sure that you're utilizing them. There's so many apps on your phone to help you save more. Digit is one of them. What's another? I guess I was going to say Splitwise. Splitwise is not really helping with budgeting, but it helps you to split your bills and bill payments if you have a roommate. Another one is, why can't I think about it? What's the name of that app? It's very similar to Digit. I'll think of it. It's gonna get me if I don't remember this one. It starts with the Q. I'll think of it later. The next one is to stop using credit. So if y'all didn't know, credit card companies are the best marketing people ever. So credit cards are a business, right? So they basically make you think that you need them to use their credit, and in reality, you don't need credit, because all that credit, like credit cards, all that is saying that I don't have the money. And if you don't have the money, you shouldn't be spending it. So you should really only be spending money that you already have. So unless you're using, credit cards to pay them off before, the end of the month and before they end up accumulating interest, credit cards are not something that you should just be using, because that's how you're going to continuously add to this cycle of, of debt. So one of the things that I had to learn how to do was save up enough money to where I didn't have to depend on credit cards. So that was huge for me. So I had to make my money work for me. Okay. So now I'm super excited to share with you guys that I am launching a Master Your Money Bootcamp. And this is basically to help. I have so many people that end up reaching out to me like, oh my God, how do you do this? And how do you get financial freedom? And so I was like, I need to put this in a course to help women really effectively get on track to being better budgeters of their money. Okay. So in this bootcamp, basically, you're going to learn how to create a detailed budget for your entire year. So not just from month to month. This is for your entire year. You're also going to learn how to get rid of debt and develop a plan to actually become debt free. So I'll walk with you through how I paid off at over $10,000, what my strategies and tips were. I'll help you set real life goals for paying off debt. I'll help you learn how to save more money month to month, okay? I know I gave you a lot of tips today, but we'll go a lot more in depth on different strategies for saving more money from month to month. I'll help you identify tools that will help you better manage your money. So I did tell y'all a few of my secrets today, but I'll kind of have a more comprehensive list for that, for you to identify tools that will help you effectively manage your money. And you'll learn how to become financially free without feeling restricted by a budget. Now, I want to be very clear that this program is not for everybody, okay? So I want to be so clear. And I say that only because I told God, like, I really want to work with people who are driven and coachable, people who I know are really, really serious about, like, going from living, not only paycheck to paycheck, but that are really trying to build wealth, people that are trying to purchase assets, people that are really serious about getting themselves in order and their finances in order. So people who are prepared to put in the work to get actual results, because, you can sit and learn something all day long, but knowledge is nothing without application. So you have to apply it so that you can get those results. And this is for people who really, really want to invest in themselves. So the Master Your Money Bootcamp is going to be a 5-week program. So it begins January 8th, 2018. So it's the first Monday in January. And what it comes with is 5 online modules, including video content. So I'm basically going to walk with you doing 5 online sessions. You'll get 2 group coaching webinars. So those coaching webinars is, you guys will be able to get your assignments in and be able to get kind of live feedback from me on that. And I'll be able to coach you through the assignments as well. You're going to get an accountability partner, which is pretty much priceless. But one of the things that really helped me was letting other people know that I was, making strides towards like spending my money better. And that helped me to effectively budget better because I knew I had someone holding me accountable. You'll also get access to the Facebook group. And that is a private Facebook group where you guys will be able to, put your assignments in, get active feedback from me. You'll also get coaching and feedback from me additionally. And you'll get this spreadsheet that I created, the Master Your Money monthly budgeting spreadsheet. Now, this is one of the things that I actually sell online for people who are interested in budgeting, and that is $9 value. I sell that online now, and it's basically the culmination of like pretty much everything you learn in the course of how to put all of that your budget together into an actual spreadsheet and to effectively manage your money from month to month. Okay. So this is over $1,700 in value, and you're only going to get that for $97. Now, like I said, this is an investment. So if you think about, if you're going to, in the long run, from what you learn, going to pay off, $10,000 in debt like I did, that is a very small investment in terms of what you're going to get in the long run. You'll also get, even if you only got, paid off $2,000 in debt after this, if you really stick to what we tell you to do, that's still a huge investment. Or, that's still huge because it's minimal investment. So even if you're like, okay, to register online, you can go to bit.ly/NYM bootcamp. And this is time sensitive. So it's for the next 48 hours. I am giving you guys 48 hours. I want you guys to know that, I'm really big on I've purchased a lot of online courses and stuff to kind of get me to my next level in life. But I want you guys to be very mindful, go home, pray about it tonight, pray about it in the morning, do what you need to do to figure out if this is the right move for you. It's definitely an investment, but make sure that you pray about it and see if it's the right move for you. So definitely take your time, but this is time sensitive, and it'll just go up a little bit after that, but it'll still be available. Okay. Now, if you're okay, no, I'm trying to spend money from month to month, or I'm trying to save more money from month to month, I don't think I have the time to really be coached into learning how to budget, you can get my month-to-month budgeting spreadsheet. Okay. That's a $9 value. I usually sell it for $9. You can get that for $5 today. Okay. With the code NYM-SAVE4. And basically with that spreadsheet, it has, it'll help you list out all of your income, your expenses. It'll help you list out, how you're going to save for vacations. It'll have you listing out, even paying your tithes. And that really is, what, like I said, it's kind of the culmination of even the course. You're putting most of your income and assets and all of that stuff into there. And what was I going to say? Of course, I forgot what I was going to say. But you can get that at epicfabgirl.com/shop. And it comes with a video. So it comes with a video tutorial, and I walk you through how I use that spreadsheet. During the course, we'll actually go a lot more in depth on how I use that spreadsheet, how my strategy for how I add things in there, how I figure out how to take money from certain places and add them to others. And that is pretty much what I do. I hope this has been recording the whole time. And then so you can get that. And so I just want to thank you guys for, let's see. Yep, I think you guys are in there. So I want to thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this. And one of the reasons I even included this is so that, you know, because you guys did stay around to the end of the session, you guys are able to get that. So if you guys have any questions, like budgeting questions, I'm going to stop and pause so that you guys can get any of your questions answered. And I'm going to stop share and see if there's any questions in the group. All right. You're so welcome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. All right, so if we don't have any questions, I'm assuming that maybe you guys are typing. Do you have a budget spreadsheet for your business? Do I have a budget spreadsheet for my business? I have multiple. The one that I do have, I mainly use, what do you call it? PayPal. But I have budget spreadsheets for like different, like most of what I do with like Epic Fab Girls is like events and stuff. So I do I do have a budget spreadsheet, but it's not necessarily set the same exact way. I do a planning spreadsheet for my business as well, but it's set up pretty much like the same exact way, but I break it down to like a much smaller level based on like every single transaction that comes in. So I use like my PayPal to see, hey, here's, you know, all my PayPal transactions. I'll take all of those and I'll categorize them and then basically put that into like my overall budget to see like my income, what I spent my money on. So yes, I do have that, and it's a lot more extensive because, you know, each month you have multiple transactions, you have multiple purchases, and that's why it's really important to have, I would recommend, if you're not good at that stuff like that, hire somebody to either help you to set that stuff up, or to, like, if you want to manage it on your own, you can do that too. But basically what I have is like a spreadsheet that's like, I don't sell it, but maybe I should. But it's like the first page is basically overall budget, but then each page after that is like monthly budget, income, expenses, what I spent my money on, shipping, different stuff. So I do have a spreadsheet that I use for my business. Any other questions? You're welcome. All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But thank you guys so much for joining. And if you haven't already joined the Epic Fab Girl community, definitely head over to epicfabgirl.com. We send out newsletters. We also send out different events that we're hosting. We actually have our Epic Fab Girl Go-Getter Conference that's March 23rd to 24th in Chicago for entrepreneurs, influencers, anybody who basically wants to start something that has a vision that God has given for them. That is for you. Even if you haven't started your business yet, or even if you want to start a nonprofit, that conference is for you. It's to help you go after all that God has for you. And we are actually going to release ticket sales this week. So be on the lookout for that, and let me know. And even give me your feedback. If you really, really liked this session today, if you wanted to hear more about different topics, definitely let me know. And there's a contact page when you go to epicfabgirl.com. And then next week on the 28th, we have another session on how to budget, like different tools and tips on budgeting when you're on like a lower budget. So one of our resources is basically going to share with us how to effectively manage your money, but using different tools and resources for people if you have a lower income, and different programs that you may qualify for to make sure that you aren't spending money that you don't need to spend unnecessarily. So thank you guys, and I will see you guys soon. All right.